So what if I told you that the life that you're praying for might actually start with the life that you're living today, right now? I know, it sounds a little backwards. Because usually, when we start talking about changing our lives, we're talking about changing our circumstances. We need a different job. We need to make more money. We need to lose the weight. We need to move. We need a different relationship. We need a bigger house. We need a different opportunity. We need something around us to change before we finally feel like our life is changing. And before somebody takes what I'm saying and just shoots off across the street, I am not saying your circumstances don't matter. I've said this in another video. I'm not saying that it don't matter. Baby, sometimes your circumstances absolutely need to change. Sometimes you do need another job. Sometimes you do need to leave that relationship. Sometimes you do need a different, completely different environment. Sometimes you need more money because affirmations, the affirmations you be saying every day ain't paying that electric bill. There are absolutely circumstances that can make changing our lives a lot harder. There are circumstances that can affect our mental health, our physical health, our opportunities, our finances, our relationships, and the way that we experience our everyday lives. So no, this is not one of those conversations where I'm about to tell you, just change your mindset. Hell no. Not doing it. Nope. Because sometimes shit around you needs to change too. But here's what I've been really thinking about though. What happens when your circumstances finally change and you come with them? So for example, you got the job, you moved, you lost the weight, you started making more money, that bread hitting, you finally got into the relationship that you wanted. You bought that big old beautiful house that you've been dreaming of. You accomplished the very thing that you swore up, down, and around the corner was gonna make everything feel different. 6 months later, you're still questioning yourself. You're still comparing yourself to everybody. You still don't trust yourself. You're still talking crazy to yourself. You're still afraid to rest. You're still looking for someone else's approval. You're still believing your worth comes from what you accomplish. You're still telling yourself that you're not enough. So technically, your circumstances changed, but something followed you into the new circumstance. You did. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough when we're talking about changing our lives. Because changing your circumstances doesn't automatically change the relationship that you have with yourself. It doesn't automatically heal something that hurts you. It doesn't automatically make you confident. It doesn't automatically make you trust yourself. It doesn't automatically teach you how to rest. It doesn't automatically make you believe that you, my friend, are worthy. And it definitely doesn't automatically teach you how to experience the life that you worked extremely hard to build. Those are completely different things. And I think sometimes we accidentally put responsibilities on our goals that our goals were never meant to carry. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when. I'll finally feel confident when. I'll start enjoying myself when. I'll feel like I've made it when. I'll finally be proud of myself when. And baby, When is when? Because I've caught myself doing this. Once I get the house together, I'll chill, I'll relax. Once I finish this project, then I'll enjoy myself. Once I get this reorganized, then I'll have all the time in the world. Once I finish this, once I accomplish that, once I get everything together, then I can just finally, girl, finally what? Because something is going to be on that damn list tomorrow. That ain't no lie, that's just straight facts. That's life. There is always going to be something. There is always going to be another responsibility, another goal, another bill, another project, another thing that needs cleaning, another thing that you want to improve, another level that you want to reach. So if I keep postponing experiencing my life until everything around me finally looks the way I want it to look, right? I might keep spending my entire life preparing to live it. And that's something that I've really had to sit with. Because I don't want that. I do not want to spend years building a life that I never actually gave myself permission to experience. And that's why I think changing your relationship with yourself matters so much. Because even that can sound like one of those cute little inspirational phrases. Change your relationship with yourself. Okay. All right. What the hell does that actually mean? Because saying it sounds cute. Doing it is something completely different. For me, I think part of changing your relationship with yourself is actually learning how to listen to yourself again. If you're tired, can you acknowledge that you're tired without immediately putting yourself on a trial? Do I deserve to be tired? Did I do enough today? Was I productive enough? Should I really be sitting down? Hello? You're tired. Sometimes that's just the whole sentence. That's it, period. You're tired. It could also mean that you're learning how to keep promises to yourself again. And I'm not talking about these gigantic declarations we make on Sunday night where we suddenly wake up Monday morning at 5 o'clock, working out for an hour, drinking a gallon of water, meal prepping every single meal, journaling, meditating, reading 40 pages, cleaning the entire house, starting a business, and becoming a completely different human before lunch. No. No, 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 no. What I'm talking about is small promises. Promises that you can actually keep. Maybe you said that you were going to take a 10-minute walk. Take that 10-minute walk. Maybe you said you were going to spend 30 minutes working on something that's important to you. Do the 30 minutes. Maybe you said tonight you're going to rest. Then, baby, get to resting. Because every time you show yourself your own word means something, you're building evidence that you can trust yourself. And I think another part of changing your relationship with yourself is learning how to hear your own preferences again. I mean, hear them. What do you actually like? What do you actually want? What feels good to you? What kind of life feels good for me? Listening. And I'm not talking about what Instagram told you to want. Not what your family expected you to want. Not what everybody else your age seems to be doing. Not what looks impressive. Not what photographs well. You. You. Because sometimes we spend so much time becoming who we think we're supposed to be that we don't even stop to ask whether we actually like that life that we're building. And here's another one for you. How do you talk to yourself when you mess up? Because loving yourself when everything is going right, oh girl, that shit's easy. Hitting your goals, you being hella productive, you feeling real good, everything's getting checked off. Of course you're proud of yourself. Who wouldn't be? But what happens when you disappoint yourself? What happens when you don't follow the plan? What happens when you go back to something you said you were done with? What happens when you break a promise to yourself? What happens when you make a decision and later realize, yeah, girl, that was not it? Do you immediately start tearing yourself apart? Or can you say, alright, that didn't go the way I wanted. What happened? What can I learn from this experience? What needs to change? And what am I going to do next? Because I don't think changing your relationship with yourself means pretending everything you do is okay. Accountability still very much exists. Growth still requires honesty. Sometimes we need to call ourselves out. But there's a difference between holding yourself accountable and just simply making yourself feel like shit. And I think we, a lot of times, confuse the two. You can correct yourself without destroying yourself. You can acknowledge that you made a bad decision without deciding that you are a bad decision. You can be disappointed in something you did without becoming disappointed with your entire existence. I mean, that's a relationship. And maybe one of the biggest parts of this for me is learning how to experience my life while I'm still building it. Because I still want things. I still have goals, right? There are things about my circumstances that I absolutely, positively want to change. There are things about myself that I want to work on. There are things that I have yet to accomplish. There are places that I would love to go. Things that I want to create. Things that I want to experience. I don't think wanting more is the problem. The problem starts when I decide that the version of me who eventually gets those things deserves something that the current version of me just doesn't. Future me gets to be happy. Future me gets rest. Future me gets to feel confident. Future me gets to wear the clothes. Future me gets to take the pictures. Future me gets to enjoy herself. Future me gets to celebrate. Future me gets to feel like she's enough. Okay? And then, what the hell does the present me get? I am allowed to want more without treating the person who I am right now like she's in a waiting room for a woman that I'm trying to become. And I think that's something I'm learning in real time. Because becoming a different version of yourself doesn't mean that you get to abandon the person who's doing the becoming. That woman is still you. She's still doing the work. She's still getting back up. She's still figuring shit out. She's the one making the mistakes. She is the one trying again. She is building the life that future you is eventually going to get to experience. So maybe she deserves to experience some of it too. And again, this does not mean we don't change our circumstances. I actually think changing your relationships with yourself makes it easier to recognize which circumstances need to actually change. Because maybe you start trusting yourself again enough to say, I don't want this anymore. Maybe you respect yourself enough to create the boundary. Maybe you believe yourself when you say something isn't working. Maybe you stop talking yourself out of something you already know. Maybe you finally admit, yeah, this part of my life actually does need to change. That's not failure. I call that information. And that's why I don't think the answer is choosing between change your circumstances or change yourself. Sometimes you need both. Change what needs changing around you, right? And pay attention to what you're carrying with you when you go. Because I don't want you to finally get everything you've been praying for and realize I brought every belief that made it impossible for me to enjoy my old life into the new one. So, in saying that, sometime this week, I want you to sit with, drumroll please, 4 questions. And don't rush through them. Actually think about them. Number 1, what am I constantly telling myself I finally do, feel, or experience after something changes? Number 2, what do I believe the future version of myself deserves that I'm withholding from myself right now? That one you might need to sit with for a minute. Number 3, what is one part of my circumstances that genuinely need to change? Because again, we're not pretending everything can be fixed internally. Sometimes something around you really isn't working. So acknowledge it. Question number 4. What is something within me that I do not want to carry into my new circumstance? Maybe it's the way you talk to yourself. Maybe it's you constantly questioning yourself. Maybe it's people pleasing. Maybe it's believing that rest has to be earned. Maybe it's comparing yourself to everybody. Maybe it's constantly waiting for somebody to give you permission to do something you already know you want to do. Whatever it is, just notice it. Because that's the part I don't want us to miss. I don't want to work this hard building a life I've been praying for, finally get there, and realize I never learned how to be present enough to experience it. I don't want that for you, and I damn sure don't want that for me. So yes, change your circumstances when they need changing. Build the life you want, set the goals, make you some more moolah, move if you want to, change careers if that's what's right for you. Take care of your health, build something you are absolutely proud of. Become whoever the hell you're becoming. But in that process, don't abandon yourself while you're doing it. Because maybe becoming her, you, isn't only about building a different life. Maybe it's also about learning how to stop abandoning yourself inside the one you're building.